Welcome back, my gardening friends, to November's tour of both allotments and 3 lessons that I've learnt throughout this growing season. And I've been tagged by Greta's garden, and throughout this video we'll be looking at those lessons learned. Now, I haven't watched many videos where people have done single videos just on the 3 lessons learned, so I may have been tagged elsewhere, but Greta kindly gave me the heads up, and here we are now. So we are in the Wildflower Garden, and in a previous video you would have seen the poppy seeds. These are from another allotment that we tidied up. Now, there's, as you probably know, poppy seeds, there's thousands of seeds per head, mainly because you don't always get decent germination. So part of the jobs for November, scattering a few of these around. Well, not a few, we're going to scatter them all, and hopefully we'll get something from them. They would naturally fall on the floor, so that's how they're going. And I did notice here that the sweet peas that fell on the floor, and maybe the mice have moved around, have already grew. So it'll be interesting to see how well they overwinter and whether we get any flowers on them next year. But I'm leaving this wild because we don't know what's in there. Could be hedgehogs, could be anything. And as you can see, we've got some sunshine. Really nice to have after many days of sunshine and showers, but mainly rain. It's absolutely saturated everything. So let's just move on. Another little job I need to do is to sort out these cuttings, etc. Some of these were planted with roots, but these were planted cut off 6 inches long, and we've got 4 in there, and it looks like all 4 have taken. So I do really need to get those either into permanent positions, possibly where the strawberry towers were. We've got lots of soil there to manoeuvre, but I might wait because I might use that soil in my raised beds. So a little dilemma, but these won't hurt. These have been now over 12 months in these pots, and realistically I would like to move them before the spring. But anybody with a little bit of knowledge, will it be okay to be separated in the spring and planted on? Pop it in the comments, please. Now, I think most people have cut their asparagus down, but mine still looks remarkably good. And as you may have seen in the seed saving video, I took the fruits off this and I'm drying them out. But I don't think I really need to cut it down just yet. Won't be long though. Get a few more frosts on it and it'll probably die back on its own. But while it's still got plenty of growth, it's feeding the crowns below. Just a different view. This is the wildlife pond, and I have noticed lots and lots of really small frogs about, but there's still some flowers growing. I've still got to empty these pots. They're the black currant bushes. Those are the ones that grew from seed below the bush and we potted them on. Still need to do a few things there. I still need to sort the banana skins compost out. That's in a previous video. And the Christmas potatoes there will be revealed at Christmas. At the moment it's a parking place for the mower, which we're going to use here when we start collecting the autumn leaves. So I'll give it a try. If it doesn't mulch them up or it takes too long, and obviously the fuel costs money, so we'll see. But if I can get all my leaves into this 2-pallet bin fairly soon, and as you can see I've built the extension on the pallet bin to accommodate the extra 4 bags of leaves I collected. And this is either going home so I can fit that 24-volt electric motor to it, or I'll do it down here on the allotment, but that will be a job maybe December or January. 3 wheelie bins full of leaf mould, and as you can see now, a bit of a dumping ground. I've acquired a few more barrels down there, so we'll have a little stroll around there. Once we've looked at an extremely full compost bin, I've only just managed to get everything in there. It must have composted down really well during the summer, and now it's not going down at all, and we're getting absolutely loads of liquid feed from out of the bottom, which I will use to rejuvenate the compost and the soil in my new raised beds during the spring. These are some of those nice poppies that Mrs. K found. One of the poppy heads dropped off in her hand as she was walking the dog, and she now wants them back. I've only got 3, dear. I'm keeping the rest. Don't tell. I also need to get this sorted out. I've got all those logs there, and we'll get those stacked on, and hopefully it might help any of the wildlife throughout the winter. We want somewhere for the mice to live, don't we? Now this is horse manure, and obviously they heat docks, so we get lots of these seeds, and obviously the roots are not nice when they get to full size, but considering this has been here most of the summer, there's not many weeds there, and if you get those out straight away, it saves you a penny or 2 instead of having to buy the manure like 6X, etc. Now you probably noticed there's some compost bin moved there, so one of the jobs was to top up the carrot box on plot 3. So there's a few gone from there, and there's a few bags gone from here as well. These all fell over, so I stood them up, but this material I've used to on top of the leek bed and on top of the carrot bed in the polytunnel, which you'll see shortly. So this is the compost we put in the carrot box, mainly because it was cocoa coir, and when it does get sieved, it can be added to the mix. And then another new find of compost this morning. Again, it's cocoa coir. Now I do use this for the parsnips and the carrots when I can be bothered to core out the holes, but if there's 20 litres per bag, I've picked up 300 litres of cocoa coir today, usable anyway. So the first of the lessons learned, and this was a really big one, and a big eye-opener for me, and I did share this. I created this frame to take the 1,000 litre water tank, just to take up that bit of room there, but 1,000 litres equates to 1 tonne, and it wasn't strong enough. I had a few little warning signs. I didn't do nothing about it straight away, and then it nearly bit me. I would not want it to be crushed between that and that. So a massive lesson for me, and sometimes you go in blind, but you could come out squished. That's my very big lesson learned for 2019. And because it's gone brittle at the top, that will end up joining the other manure bin runoff, and that will be on that side. So I'll have 2 manure bin runoffs on this allotment to collect those lovely black juices. I know whenever you've really got a project on, it's always best to keep collecting materials, but they do take up a lot of room, and hopefully by the end of the summer all my projects will be done, well, the ones that I'm thought about, and hopefully I'll have most of my allotment back here before Mrs. K finds out what I've been up to. We'll move up to plot 3, a very, very soggy allotment because we've moved all these slabs from the path to be vertical so that I've got something to work up to. And another project, I'm hoping to do this month, is the gate. So I'm turning that pallet into a new gate, and then throughout the winter we'll be doing a little bit of pruning, but I definitely need to get in there to do a little bit of weeding as well. So in some previous videos, this is where the compost bins were, and these are 2 of the 4 beds. That's bed 2, that's bed 1, and we have got the plastic walk boards. They're in place now. We'll show a close-up of that soon. And now I've put the string lines out there and there, showing the direction, not exactly the height yet because I can tinker about with that. So there's the carrot box. We've put that cocoa coir, roots and all, on top of the carrots there to insulate them against the cold. We can harvest them as and when we want. And I'll put those big bags on because I believe the south had some horrific winds and people did lose their lives, but we were very fortunate here to actually miss it. That's the remnants of the brassica cage, and I've reused all the screws because, you know, I actually use decking screws, so they do come out easily. And we've got 1 or 2 cabbages left, which should last all winter. And I'm hoping to put that one to seed because I think that one is bigger now than one at Malvern. So we're working our way towards a show win and possibly a record with maybe the seed from that. In a previous video, the one preceding this one, we've planted all our garlic and the leek pips, and there's the compost as a top up, and we also planted the broad beans, the Bunyard exhibition. Now this is the netting from the carrot box. Wouldn't normally take it off, but all this is being moved, so I've repurposed it here. I've buried it. The main thing now, I chip them and put them into the long kitchen rolls because of the tap roots, mainly because of the mice. Now they're looking a lot better now, they're in the ground. Now these will get burnt and they'll get shriveled, but what will happen, these will die back and then it'll throw up to 3 shoots from the bottom. So you're tripling your amount of beans you've got. And as you can see there, some people say yay, some people say nay. Eggshells, and you may be able to see the coffee grounds as a little barrier because there's bound to be some slugs in here. Now the worst thing that can happen to these is Mr. Pigeon. Now pigeons will walk in, they won't normally fly in to there, so that's why it's sealed all the way around. So the netting is for a little bit of warmth, a little bit of protection from the cold, but mainly so the pigeons don't take the whole lot off. So that plastic now is buried in the ground to help me and my plot neighbour to have something to work up against. So all that side is now nicely done, and I've worked my way all the way down there. It's been wet and horrible, absolutely awful, but I'm just going to finish that off now so I can stop talking and you can just do a bit of watching. spotted a plot holder coming, and they always speak. Now these are pre-drilled at the top because it's plastic. I pre-drill most things. Now this box of screws is everything that I've actually took apart from the other structures. Get a longer screw in the one in the middle. Because it's got a post at the back. So I'll just finish that off. That's another little job done. Not the best jobs to do this time of the year, but it's got to be done. In the previous video we was talking about cutting these blocks in half to stand the posts on, and I think these are split really well, so this is how I've done it. All these have worked previously, but you can guarantee this one won't. So basically we're going to score across the whole block. And then give it one good tap. Not perfect, but it'll do for me. So these are the carrots outside, and now they're all snug like a bug in a rug, and they should store nicely. This is how I store my carrots, not how you should store your own. This is what I find is the best. Leaving them in the ground, rooted down, and just topping them off and keeping them dry, especially if they're outside. But this is what I'm doing with the ones inside in the polytunnel. Now these carrots have been cut off once and they started growing again. I ain't got a problem with that because it creates more compost for the bin. So I've again cut them off. I did top them up before with some of the compost from there. But I'm not growing carrots in here again. You see how dry everything is, and I've topped it up now with the compost. It's got the perlite in, and I'm hoping to be able to grow my tomatoes down the middle of the polytunnel. I'm hoping they're not given too much shade from the grapes, but there again, people shade the greenhouses anyway. So my second lesson learned is that growing carrots within a polytunnel in the heat doesn't really work that well. Yes, if you was to water them regular, but you remember we had the long roots growing in here and everything else, so they didn't get done as regular as they should, and everything does dry out really quickly. So lessons learned, I won't be doing this mass of carrots in this long bed in the polytunnel again, because I overcrowded the polytunnel by having the tomatoes growing up this side with everything else. It just didn't work out, far too crowded. So lessons learned for me, a small area you could water, but for this mass over the whole summer we're over 5 meters long by the width, just a bit too much. So the third and final lessons learned, no, not taking the slabs up and using them as a weed defence and a nice barrier. We are wet, but it's the beet leaf miner. I think me and quite a few other people learned a lot about the beet leaf miner. It got into my giant turnips, oh come on, giant beetroot, and it got into everybody's chard and spinach. So, a valuable lessons learned. We knew now we know what it was. We've been using neem oil, and that will help me out no end in my giant vegetables. And if it works on the allium leaf miner as well, that'll be a complete bonus. So that's the lessons learned from not knowing nothing to knowing what we know now. And I will put the beet leaf miner video playlist in the cards at the end. Yeah, and I'll stick my face right there. Well, our growing spaces are now looking a little bit bare. I do mulch with this spent compost, tend to put manure underneath. But we've got a few things left. And one of the lessons I never learned from 2017 and 2018 was, if you're going to grow Jerusalem artichokes, grow them in a position where you're not going to keep moving them. Will I learn my lesson? Well, I'm going to move them again, aren't I? Yeah, it's opening up nicely now, and I'm looking forward to working on the raised beds maybe December, January, February and March. And it'll be nice to get rid of all the materials that I've collected over the last 2-3 years. When I started allotmenteering, I watched Mark Davison and a few others, Muddy Boots, and they'd got these lovely scaffold raised beds, and they inspired me to save my pennies. And I do monetize, and you do see adverts. I do apologise about that, but it does help me. Happy gardening to you all. Till next time, my friends. Ta-ra for now. And please pop to Gretta's garden and pay her a visit, say hello, say I've sent you, and if you like the content, then consider subscribing to her channel. I do like watching smaller channels, you learn so much from them. And if you really must, and you really want to, and you like my content, then please consider subscribing to my channel as well. I don't bite, I love the comments, thumbs ups, thumbs down. And thank you very much for those who watch the videos from the very start to the very end. That helps me get a few things for the allotment, and I always let you know what I'm spending. Ta-ra, my friends, till next time. Ta-ra for now.